Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're excited to have you join us for this 45-minute deep dive into the evolving role of an AI business designer at Solita. I'm Alja Lepistö, and I'm here with my lovely colleagues, Rimpiläinen and Topi Ahava. We're going to have a short round of introductions very soon. So today, we want to be talking about some real-life stories and honest insights from the field. We'll be exploring how AI has fundamentally changed the context of design and what it truly means to work at the intersection of business and technology. First, we'll be kicking off things by discussing early engagement, focusing on strategy and asking the right questions. Then we'll dive into the development phase, emphasizing how we ensure impact in our projects. And to wrap up, we'll be also touching upon all the other stuff that comes with the role and how it fills our working days. And as you can see from these pictures, we are using movie references for the different topics. And we would like to invite you to a small game. So if you know the movie, write it into the chat. And whoever knows most of the movies will get a goodie bag from us. And the goal for this session today is to share some stories and give you a glimpse of our working life. And we have our dear colleague Mikko Jäppinen in the background. He's drawing a picture of our discussion and will be sharing that in the end of the session. We have also reserved time for questions in the end. So please write any of your questions to the Q&A section, and we will try to answer them before closing. That's, I think, about the structure of this today. So let's jump in by introducing ourselves. Ida, do you want to tell a little bit more about who you are?
Yes, thank you, Alja, and good morning, everyone. My name is Ida Rimpiläinen, and I've been at Solita for 5.5 years now, and all the time I've been in the same team, the best team here at Solita. And well, obviously the role or the focus has changed a little bit over the time, but yeah, in the same team. And I do work mainly with industrial and logistics and manufacturing clients, and that's probably because of my engineering background. I used to study at Tampere. And then I ended up working with AI, Watson tools over 10 years ago, and yeah, here we are today. I have 3 boys under school age, and they are causing a lovely hustle in my everyday life. But I must say that Solita is luckily a super family-friendly employee. We have a nanny service for sick child, and we have a family mentoring program. And I would say that the overall attitude towards like work-life balance is great here. So that's nice. And in my free time, which I don't have, I love to exercise and play bad tennis and swim and ski and listen to this like super serious podcasts, not about AI, but the Hollywood celebrity gossips. So shout out Tuplakäk. So yeah, that's me in short. Well, how about Topi Liini? Who are you?
Ida, I have now 2 women in my life who call me Topi Liini. That's my mom and you. So you're in good company. Good morning, all. I'm Topi. I'm a colleague of Ida and Alja at Solita. I've already been here quite a while. My day-to-day revolves around big enterprise, most of all the manufacturing sector and the built environment, and I focus quite a lot on business data, product data, and production data. I try to get into all kinds of trouble at the interface of technology and business. And that's I dare say that's quite a fun place to be at. When I'm not working, I do quite a lot of outdoor stuff. Ida mentioned that she has children. I have 2 dogs. The younger one, Luli, is in the picture. She's just turned 3 years old. She's the absolute bane of my existence. If Solita has good family benefits for kids, Luli's, I think she's going on my 5th headset right now, and our IT has been very kind and generous in offering me new headphones. So we have also that going for us. Shout out to the IT folks. I can't live without you. So I guess that's about me. Alja, would you like to share a few words about yourself?
Yeah, I think it has become clear that I'm a colleague of you guys, so no surprises there.
That would be really weird if you weren't a colleague of us, by the way.
True that.
Yeah.
So I've been at Solita for a little over 2 years, and I've actually loved my time so far. It has been really fun and interesting. Initially, I studied linguistics. It actually comes in very handy when acting as a translator between business and technology. I have an extensive background from big corporations. That's why I'm mainly working in projects for large customers. And I'm a generalist. I'm interested in way too many things. And I have a heavy focus on humans, end users, and creating true value. I'm half Swiss and half Finnish, so that means living in Finland, I miss the Swiss Alps a lot. In my free time, I love to do all kinds of stuff. I do skydive, I do yoga, I love to hike in the mountains when possible, but also taking an ice bath is great, and making sourdough bread is my therapy when I don't spend time with my husband or friends. So all kinds of stuff ongoing. And I have to say, we have, for example, weekly yoga sessions at the office. So we have these great hobby clubs. I don't remember how many of them we have, but you can pick and choose and do whatever hobby you want. We have a club for it, and it's greatly supported by Solita. Need to mention that. I appreciate it a lot. But I think that's about us. So then we could dive into our topics. So first of all, the early engagement. For me, this phase is mainly about focusing on sense making and figuring out the right problems to be solved, which can cause all kinds of mixed feelings in some situations. But talking about sense making, this picture looks quite strange. Could you, Ida, help me make sense out of this?
Yeah, I can give you some hints. So let's get started with the movie quiz. Alja, you did mention about your linguistic background, and if we start with this movie picture here, it's about understanding each other. So not the world around us or not the technology, but really understanding what are the different needs and understanding each other. And that is quite often the case when we are talking about these like early engagement or technology strategy projects. So it's our role to like help people to understand each other, and that's why I am most often invited to in these projects. It's the need to help, like bridging the gap typically between IT and IT and business, and understanding things like what is the vision for AI, how AI could create value, and what do we even mean by value, what kind of potential we are talking about, where should we start? Should we start with the small use cases or with big transformation? What are the skills that different kind of people in different roles should learn, and what kind of setup or operating models we should build around AI. And one thing that we can bring into these discussions is of course our perspective, and what we have learned from other client projects, and that often helps to see like what direction makes sense, or even what is like realistic today considering their current state. And I think this has probably been the case like always, like why you hire a consultant. It's because of the expertise from other industries or other clients. But now I think because of you all know, because AI is getting so much attention in the everywhere, in the news, in the LinkedIn, like everywhere. I think this need is even more visible to us, like the need to come here and explain like what are the needs. And clients are asking us like, what are the others doing? What are our neighbors doing? And what should we do? And I think that they need like someone slightly ahead them to help them clarify this. And I would say that in the old world, meaning not less, maybe like half a year ago, we were doing this like strategy projects, which we of course do, we still do. But then we did create these roadmaps for the, let's say, next 5 years. But I think that has somehow changed with the perspective, or actually maybe with the timeline. Yeah, or how do you see this? Topi, is anything changed there?
Ida, you mentioned that your clients ask you what their neighbors are doing. For our international audience, that's like a super Finnish thing to do. So,
yeah, that's true. Be worried about. Yeah.
Exactly. I think looking at this picture right now, and if we think of early engagement with our customers, I see, I'd say, two emotions, excitement, and then this Donald Trumpish character is, I don't know, fear, sense of foreboding, something like that maybe. What I run into time and time again is that co-creating an impactful strategic path for our clients, it's seldom about the maturity state of technology that Ida, you alluded to. I mean, tech is fast. Organizations are slow. And I think in this day and age, the pace of change has even diverged even more, or the speed of technology in comparison to how organizations move is really overpronounced. When I do strategy work, part of my job is a kind of a balancing act, trying to keep some kind of equilibrium, I guess, ongoing, encouraging the client to make strategic level decisions related to technology and business outcomes, and simultaneously making sure that they remember that, you know, deploying the tech, that's easy. Regarding strategy also, Alja, you mentioned that you're half Swiss. I need to admit that I'm from Järvenpää, so I do strategy work, you know, with a Järvenpää twist. I keep it real, I keep it OG, and that's my thing, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how you see it, Ali, but I've noticed, especially the past few years with all these business-oriented Gen AI tools and technology, that I guess it's creating kind of a sense of urgency in our clients' organizations that, you know, we gotta just quickly implement something, push something to production and hope that it has the intended outcomes. What's your take on this? Do you see it similarly?
Yeah, very much so. I think in a way the sense of urgency in general, it's a very good thing, and it's great that we are nowadays able to do things so quickly and build something super quickly. Then again, it creates this kind of blindness a little bit. So what I've learned along the years, and that was true before the newest AI hype, is that usually when the customer tells you they know what problem they need to solve, it's worthwhile digging a little deeper into that problem. Because once you have discussions with the stakeholders and you start peeling down the layers of the business problem, it usually turns out that the actual problem and especially its context haven't really been validated with the end users. So there is actually not yet clarity on, are we solving the right problem? And that's something where I see us as AI business designers come in. We have a bunch of different methods and tools that we can use to help uncover the real pain points and the opportunities. We use things such as AI opportunity canvas or customer journey mapping, or we can create user personas or whatnot. And we use all of these tools to refine these different ideas together with the end users and the key stakeholders, so that we have then solid enough versions for what I call a smart prioritization. And in that prioritization phase, we help the customer to weigh things. So we look at feasibility, desirability, viability, and sustainability. And with these criteria, we can use them as input to create an initial roadmap for these validated opportunities. And this is something that has become even more important, like this slowing down to making sure that we're solving the right problem before rushing into solving it. Otherwise, you're going to be creating tons of stuff, but it's going to still be useless. So yeah, make sure you focus on the right things. So slowing down to speed up makes sense here. In addition,
so sorry, Ali. I just are interrupting. I think that's a lovely paradox. In order to speed things up, you need to slow down. I think that's very insightful.
Otherwise, you speed to the wrong direction, so not help. Yeah. But yeah, in addition to what I just explained, this refinement process also gives you a clear picture of the measurable value that these solutions can create. So that's a great tool then also for the further planning. And then once you develop these things, you know how to measure if you've achieved what you wanted. So a crucial part of this early engagement topic, and also something, of course, you'll need to do that throughout whatever you're working on, but very much in the beginning, slowing down. Yeah, I think that's about it for the early engagement part. We could now look into what it then means when we go into the development phase of projects. And there, I think most of the time it's about figuring things out. And then the rest of the time we spend on breaking down the ever-existing silos. So I would be interested in hearing more about what kind of things, Topi, you figure out with your clients and how it relates to this picture.
What I figure things, well, how to connect to Wi-Fi. Where's the coffee machine? Hey, shout out to Julian in the chat regarding you got these both movies right away. Really good. This picture, I won't name it. It might have already been said, but it's a fuzzy picture from the 90s. It's from a movie where a group of people had to create solutions under quite a lot of pressure with limited resources. I may add, that's quite a common situation at our customers. When we spoke a few moments ago about our work on the strategic level, if we look at our team as a whole, we're around 12 people with different orientations. Majority of our work, nevertheless, is focused on work streams that are already in motion. Quite commonly, we're asked to roll our sleeves when something is not progressing as intended. That's we have the red phone starts blinking on our desk, and the bat signal in the sky, or whatever works for you. Yeah. A very common assignment for me when I answer that phone, that's a different story, we can speak about that later, is to jump into an ongoing development program or a project and help my customers' teams quite commonly in interfacing with their business and end users. So they're developing something, it's not really gaining traction with the intended end user or business goals, or they don't know how to measure their progress in terms of leading indicators. And then, I jump in and try to smoothen out that process, help them map out a path for success. And that's really fun. So, fully support. Ida, I've watched with admiration and I dare say a tinge of jealousy as
Or fear.
or fear. They're cousins. Yeah. As I've seen you started implementing quite a lot of AI tools in your customer interfacing work. What's changed for you or your customers in using these tools?
Thanks for asking. Well, it's definitely the speed in the development.
I think we lost Ida for a minute. She'll jump back in a second.
As it's clear now that we can create these, even I can create these like realistic looking mockups or even like functional code with just few prompts. It's changing the development cycle, so to say, that it's after that it can feel super frustrating to wait, for example, 1 week for the next status meeting or for the next user experience test, so that you can get feedback, like if we are doing the right things or if we are going to the right direction. So we have tried to solve that in our customer projects, and what we did is that we put the whole team into one room, so meaning everyone who is needed in the development work and also in the decision making. So that basically meaning the business owner, front end, back end developer, designers, basically the whole team. And then we gave them the best AI tools. We let them choose which tools they want to use, and then we observed like how fast they can actually move forward. And results were like amazing, since it turns out like super fast. So if we start today with the problem, we can be doing the user testing already tomorrow or this afternoon. So the speed has been like mind-blowing. And also with the frustration, like once you have the tools and you don't have to wait anymore, it's great. And we call this method, that's Solita, we call it a Collab AI, and you can find more info available. We have a crash course done about the topic and other material available as well if you are interested. So go and check it out. But I think that this speed has also highlighted to think like what to do and what is, since the doing is so easy, so it's even more crucial to think about like what to build and why we are building something. Otherwise we might just end up building useless stuff super quickly. So talking about the same dilemma again, I think. And I think there's a link to a viability or like impact in general. And I think Alja, or how do you see it? I think your background sounds like your corporate background gives you like great tools to tackle this kind of how to ensure that people actually want this fancy stuff we are building.
Yeah, very much so. And I would say in corporations, it's usually the interesting and trickiest part to get to that point. For me personally, true impact that lasts is very much going beyond only the true adoption, but also making sure that we deliver on that intended value. So the why we had in the beginning, so that we can then have measurable results. And in my experience from these big corporations, honestly, the real adoption is the trickiest part of any project. And that's also the part where usually things fall apart, and then people like us are being called in to save the day. For me, that's also where the fun really begins. So navigating those organizational gymnastics, if you want to call it so, it's like breaking down the silos, it's juggling competing priorities, it's dealing with change resistance and very often change fatigue, because these companies have been going through lots of transformations already. So then tackling that, all of that requires relentless work. So it's a little bit like in this movie pictured here. It's digging through a wall with a spoon. So it's really something that will take a lot of your time and a lot of motivation to continue. And I see that our job as AI business designers is essentially to be that crucial bridge builder, to translate between all of the languages of the different worlds, and in a way shout across the walls of business and tech and global and local realities. So there's many walls that need to be digged into. And in the end, it's all about making sure everyone in the company understands what's in it for me. What will I gain from this transformation? And these gymnastics, they demand a ton of empathy and, like I said, relentless work, a lot of communication, tons of workshops, and constant validation of, are we still doing the right thing? So it's something where I see we as consultants, we are actively helping and guiding, we're co-drivers, but it's very important that the customer itself has the ownership and drives the transformation. We can't do that from outside. It's inside out, so it needs to happen in the company. So that
Inside Out is also quite a good movie, by the way.
By the way, yes, both of them. So yeah, but that's how you get true value, and it's not an easy task. So for everyone out there, it's not supposed to be easy. It's where you need to put your hours in. But yeah,
I think you guys are highlighting quite an interesting. I could maybe call it a juxtaposition or a contradiction. Ida, you spoke about the speed of development. I mean, the teams you work in might have a proof of concept ready in a matter of days, together with business and development and stakeholders and Alja, simultaneously. You're speaking about organizational transformation, which is a world of its own.
Yeah, I would claim it's that's also what makes our work so fun. There's so many parts that you can and should put effort on. So it's very wide variety of different things.
Yeah, and levels. And I think it's worth mentioning that in our team we have like really different backgrounds. So I think like everyone is looking at it from different angles as well. But yeah.
But yeah, we were now talking about the early parts and then the development projects where we spent quite a lot of time in. But as promised, we also want to talk a little bit about all the other stuff that fills our working days and makes them sometimes a little bit messy, if you can say so. So, this is a nice looking calendar. It looks rather calm and pleasant. Is this Topi your work week?
Yeah, that's calm and pleasant. That's me, I guess. Yeah, this is something that a week for AI data business designers could look like. We've spoken a lot about impact. today, and naturally that impact has to happen at the customer's premises or interfacing with the customer. So that means essentially that our work is work we do with customers. I'm stating a lot of obvious stuff over here. I'm sorry about that. What that work most commonly looks like is depending on your assignment, depending on your role, you might be a full-time secondment at your customers for many months or even a year, or then you might be running in parallel a couple of projects. What that assignment or projects usually entail is a lot of different things. You will interface with your customers, tech people, business people, people responsible for their customers' experience or satisfaction or outcomes. You will be planning and facilitating workshops. You will be doing different kinds of analytical work, whether it's qualitative of nature or quantitative. That depends on your orientation. And then also, in addition to that, spending some time doing some other stuff. What could that stuff look like, Alja? Apart from doing sour bread.
I think you described really nicely what I would love my days to look like when I plan them. So I love to plan my days ahead, but then reality comes and punches you in the face. So it starts to look more something like this. But yeah, it's usually there's like these additional status meetings, or then especially impromptu sales meetings that get there, and that's actually a great thing. We are involved in a lot of sales, so usually we sell the projects we then work on, which I very much appreciate. So you get to deliver what you've promised yourself. Can't blame anyone else on that. But yeah, those are great, but they of course take a lot of time. Additionally, we have usually these like rather urgent Slack messages you get. It's either helping a colleague in your own project or a colleague that has something he needs help with in another project. So it's really great to be then. I feel very valuable when I'm being asked to give some opinions on another topic. And we have an absolutely fantastic community. Like every time you have a problem, you reach out, you get help. So everyone is around, happy to help all the time. Very appreciated that.
Sorry, I'll just finish your sentence. I'm speaking on top of you. Go ahead.
Yes, so you of course have also coffee table discussions and all kinds of stuff that comes up without much prior notice. But yeah, what were you about to say, Topi?
Sorry for interrupting you. That's
no worries.
Alrighty. I think what you brought up about, helping a colleague out, feeling valued when someone asks you something, I think that's something very core at Solita that I do want to highlight. We seldom are individual contributors, really. Even though there might be assignments where you're there by yourself, but I think, speaking from personal experience, I think I stand on the shoulders of giants, and I'm privileged to have such great talents around me. There's basically not a work-related question that my colleagues couldn't help me out and push me forward in the right direction. So that's I think a great asset that often is unsaid because we just take it for granted that if you have issues with something, you'll always get help.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I do feel like I'm like never the smartest people in the room or in the Slack channel, and I think it's great.
Yeah, but actually looking again at this calendar, I have a feeling I'm missing out on something. I'm not sure what it is, but do you, Ida, have an idea what is missing from this?
Yeah, maybe it's me trying to be smarter. It's the learning aspect. So it's crucial in our role that we do spare some time to learn new stuff and try out new things. So it's if not mandatory, but like really we are encouraged to do that. And I think it's a great privilege, especially in this time when there are new AI tools popping out every day or week. So it's great that we can spend some time learning new things. And we are actually having inside our team, we are having this AI agentic hackathon coming up soon, where we are like doing this like competence development, but also doing this knowledge sharing. So always someone knows something that other one doesn't. So I think it's great. And one thing I want to mention about learning new or like trying out new stuff. It was just a few weeks back when together with my colleague, we had a chance to plan or design this role play about agentic AI for our clients' leadership team, and let them play. Like one was playing the role of a orchestrator, and one was the SQL database, and one was prompting. And like it was great fun and creative. I must say. So yeah, learning new stuff. That's one thing that, and of course it can be difficult, like how to find time for that if you're busy with the client work. So something that we need to keep in mind, like it's our responsibility.
Do your kids come home from kindergarten and be like, "Mom, I want to be a SQL database when I grow up"?
Yeah, that's what that's what they do.
Well, you're an engineer.
Tell me more about this cool job you have.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, and I appreciate the way we are also supported to learn at work, and we have study groups and whatnot that kind of focus on relevant topics. Yeah, great stuff. I hope we've been able to give a good picture of what our work life looks like, and also how much fun we have while doing it, and how interesting it is to work as an AI business designer. We could maybe look a little bit into what kind of questions we've been getting.
Yeah, there was at least one about the prototyping, doesn't it help with like defining if we are solving the right problem, if we can create a prototype in one day? And I would say from my own experience that definitely it does help if you can show something, like really quickly show something concrete, like is this what you meant, or like get the feedback really quickly. But also I've noticed some like there might be like these problems that we create with the AI, we create like too great prototypes or too good looking prototypes too early, and then we end up discussing about the features, you know what I mean? So in the old world we had this like fire frame ideas, like is this the concept, is this the bigger idea we are talking about? Now we might end up like, no, I don't like the color of that button, kind of stuff too early. So that's I think one takeaway.
Yeah, and I think you're touching upon something very important. So you still need to have the right people in place to do that validation, to test like those end users, and you need to make sure that you're solving the problem that within their work context, in their daily work life, does it fit there? So it doesn't help if the button is the right color if it's not fixing the right problem. So yeah, in a way, it's great you can do this more quickly, because of course then you fail faster and are able to adjust. Then again, I also see a challenge in if you a little bit blindly like create 20 prototypes because it's so easy, you're overwhelming that end user. So you still need to focus on what is it that we're solving, and rather like quality, not quantity. So yes, it's absolutely fantastic that you can do things much more quicker, but there's a caveat around it to make sure that you're doing the right things.
reflecting on that, and it's like you said, it still matters like who you are asking these questions. Like, is this relevant? Like, it's still, you still need the end user there. And also about killing the idea, I think it's super important that the development team has actually mandate to kill the idea. So even though we have been developing it for a while, you still need to have that mandate. So
yes, very much so. Yeah.
Oh, nice picture.
Yes, very cool.
Thank you, Mikko.
Looks like a busy day what we're doing.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff. And I get to skydive. That's very cool. There's another question. In business design, it used to be also about validating whether to build prototypes on themes X and Y on the roadmap. Now it is so fast and cheap with AI, one can just do the proto and validate based on the prototype test data. Impact of this at Solita design and diff. I think it's exactly like you Juha wrote. I'm thinking we kind of already a little bit discussed what the impact of it is, but of course it also means we're very much more closely working with design, development being design. I was actually participating in a meeting yesterday where we had this notion that design and development should be one and the same. Of course, there's quite a lot of other things still also, but it certainly brings us very much closer. Both sides.
Yeah, no, actually, I don't know. I think it's an interesting question. Like, are we, when thinking about like skill sets, are we as a designers moving more to the dev side, or are they developers? Should they be having like new skill set and moving more towards the design? I don't have the answer here, but I think it's interesting. But definitely more close collaboration is needed, I would say.
Yeah, I think. Also, I think Juha's question was very on the nose regarding this day and age. Reflecting on my current assignments, I think it's good to note that there are still certain scarce resources in organizations. One is, for example, the time that business has. So, even though our iteration cycles on prototype development can be now really short, business still has only a limited amount of time that they can give impact on it. So I think that's good to note. I think as a general theme regarding the faster development, looking into the future, and I think something we need to be able to also address is that if I had to bet, if I was a betting man, well, I am a betting man, I'd imagine that business will in the future take more and more ownership of development from sort of centralized functions. They do it already. I think it's good to say. There's all sorts of, especially in big enterprise, all sorts of development streams going on that IT functions don't even know about. And I think the big question now is how to plug in these development ideas that come and are further developed very close to the customer or the business needs, how those are governed, if in any way. What's a good framework for that? I don't think there's an answer yet there, but that's super interesting.
Yeah, and you're actually just touching upon a question that Daniel put there, spin-off question, prototyping alone versus in the direct collab mode with client. How does that translate into later development? And do you have scenarios where the client has created prototypes themselves and they come to you with that prototype as a ready specification? I think, Ida, you have experience from this.
Yeah, I do. I'm just looking at the clock. We are running out of time in 30 seconds, but we do still have time for continue with the questions if you wish. So please stay with us.
One more thing, Ida, before you say the picture Mikko has drawn for us, we'll be also sharing this to all participants as a follow-up email. So you'll get this.
Just ahead, like Ida. The recording from the session. Just I think you did already answer to this question, Topi, but just about like expectation management point of view, I think I have seen this like happening, that there is like business have created with lovable tools like that, some ready-made prototype, but then like expectation management, like what is the reality? And there is still like, even though things are easier and it's doing is easier and definitely faster, but still there is a reality, and it can be tricky. Like, yeah, you did create this super nice mock-up, but then what? You still have this security, you still have IT, and like it's can be challenging sometimes. Don't have like clear answers here, but
yeah, so you get the gaps that then now happen from having a great prototype, but how does it become production ready? So then there's a big gap.
Can be, and it can be done with AI and with AI powered tools, definitely, and with the team with the right tools. So definitely it can be done, but it's not. Yeah, it requires some work.
Yeah. And I think these mock-ups and such, I think they're a rich source for exploration. If I were to give a more low-tech analog, what I run into in my assignments time and time again is that when I work with the sort of regional companies of big enterprises, they have all kinds of Excel sheets that they use in parallel with their ERP systems and such. And I always find those Excel sheets interesting because it means that they're solving some kind of problem quite manually. So there's some kind of friction in their day-to-day that they've developed this quite low-tech tooling for, but it's serving a purpose. And I think that's in these kinds of, when we're approached with sort of development oriented, whether it's business people or what have you in our organization, is that, hey, I've done this and this would truly help me, in my day-to-day. I think that's something where our interest has to naturally gravitate towards, not primarily asking, is this product level, or production level code? It's, as Alja, you had mentioned earlier, what's the problem you're trying to solve? So that's sort of a very holistic approach on that. So what made you so mad that you spun up this pile of code, or how, what is it that this is helping you in your professional life? So I think that's always really interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's important, we haven't touched upon that before, but not every problem should be solved with AI. So very many problems should be solved with very other things. So it's actually very common to have a problem and realize that, okay, the solution can be something completely different. It might even be an Excel. Yeah. And that touches a little bit upon Axel's question about how good companies in general are to understand and prioritize their AI use cases. Are they restrained by their knowledge? So to me, I would say very often there's quite a lot of room for improvement, especially if the company has different business domains. Because usually within one business domain, you might be quite good in understanding what opportunities there are. But then if you want to try prioritizing across the company, that's usually very tricky. Where, again, the tools we have come in very helpful. And also, I think it's partially the hype. Yeah, so we need to build a chatbot because everyone has a chatbot. The neighbor has a chatbot. But it's also this, you're in your company, so your perspective is very focused on that. So usually it helps a lot to take a couple of steps back and look at it from a broader perspective. So yeah, I would say that's usually where we spend quite a lot of time and effort to make those use cases better, and through that possible for smart prioritization.
Yeah, and definitely I think that also something that requires the gymnastic, like organizational gymnastics, since I think it's can be quite easy to come up with a template or like prioritization model and scorecard and whatnot, like this kind of like, this is how we do the prioritization. But then how do you actually operational? What's that word?
That's
how do you
difficult.
make it like, that's word. Let's skip it. But how do you actually make it work? Like what's the communication? Like who will actually run these meetings around it? Like how do you actually make it work? It's easy to make a template, but how to make it live?
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
I'm not seeing any more.
Yeah, I think we covered most of them.
Yeah.
We got one more from Juha. Connect the question to the previous. Fixed price or hourly billing from customer project work is under pressure, mainly with AI productivity boost. How has Solita Consultancy solved this billing renewal? Some use Spotify model. I think we have a broad variety of different models for billing. I would say we have one approach there.
Yeah, I'd say for AI business designers, the biggest upside in this economic situation for us is to really keep our eye on the ball, and simultaneously what we see is that this kind of work that we do is valued more and more at the customer. That is to say that certain kind of development roles, especially in the Finnish market, their price point has been degrading for a couple of years due to a number of factors which don't even relate to AI. But what we see simultaneously in our kind of work is that we actually still have a very healthy price point. It even goes up because the underlying problems start condensing at our client side when the speed of development picks up, and still they're huge organizations.
Yeah, and I think
go ahead.
The AI productivity boost. So yes, there's much more speed, but then coming back to what I mentioned earlier, so we need to slow down to make sure we do the right things. So in a way, we're not away from that. And Topi, you mentioned that usually companies are still very slow in changing, and so it's there's productivity boost, but transformation boost doesn't exist. So we're still needed there.
We are needed and we are recruiting, so hopefully we could get a new colleague from this.
Or
maybe one of you.
Yes.
Yeah. I think on my side, so drawing some conclusions from our discussions today, I think this is a very, very, very fun role to have, really, because we're privileged to see how technology and AI is now sort of diffusing into our clients' organizations. I mean, how it is, if it is at all, making an impact in that sense to the physical world, and we're right there. We get to see beyond the hype, and I mean, this is super interesting, and we're really looking forward to, getting new talent on board to join us in these efforts. It's really good to have you all join online for us today, and hope this has been as fun for you as it has been for us.
Very much so. Olli is asking, which of the screenshots is your favorite movie and why? I have to say Inside Out. It's so true and so fun. So, and I love how the different emotions and feelings are pictured there. So that's my answer.
Mine as well, I must say.
Yeah, I'm right there. It's a heartbreaker. It's a tearjerker. Especially you guys out there, go and see it. It's really good.
But
Great.
Thank you all. This was really fun. A huge thank you to Topi and Ida for joining me this morning. This was absolutely great. Can we do this every week?
Yes, we
Yes.
can. Just need the audience.
So yeah, that's true. And of course, the biggest thank you goes to the audience. So this wouldn't be meaningful without you. So thank you that you were here. We love hear feedback. So we would love to hear from you. You should have a link for feedback in your email. So we would appreciate it if you can spare a little bit of time to fill that in. And yeah, the recording and Mikko's picture and the right answers to the movies will be shared in 24 hours, and we'll also pick the winner for the goodie bag. So stay tuned on that. But yeah, I really hope this was worth your time. Thank you very much and have a lovely weekend.
Take care, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.